So McDonald's president Joe Erlinger thinks livable wages are, quote, job destroyers. You can't make this stuff up. Look at this headline. I think it really speaks for itself. Let's pull that up. McDonald's president, who made $7.4 million last year, says proposal to pay fast food workers $22 an hour is, quote, costly and job destroying. Oh my God. So he wrote an open letter attacking the FAST Act, which is also known as AB 257, which is a law that was supposed to be enacted in California. Before we go any further into what that idiot had to say about it, here is what's at stake. So Business Insider reported that AB 257, dubbed the FAST Act, signed into law last year, could raise hourly restaurant wages to $22 an hour in the state. The open letter was published after the state approved a referendum backed by fast food chains that would put the law up for a vote in November 2024. The law was previously set to be enforced on January 1st, but until the vote, state officials can't implement the law. So some more on that. AB 257 creates a 10-member council of fast food workers, franchisees, and franchisors, advocates for fast food employees, and representatives from the governor's office. The council will establish minimum standards on wages, working hours, and other working conditions related to the health and safety of workers. The law applies to food chains with more than 100 locations, including Starbucks, Wendy's, Burger King, and McDonald's. So what we know and what we've seen, especially when it comes to Starbucks and the unionization efforts of Starbucks employees lately, is that these companies don't have the best interests of their workers at heart. I mean, if you can even say that these companies have a heart, I think that it would be a little bridge too far to say that. But the law is about fair wages and workers' rights, which apparently Joe Erlinger thinks is bad for business. Of course, he thinks that. It means actually having to look after the workers who work more than he does and make him millions of dollars. So from his statement, the state is teaching us a powerful lesson about what our future could look like if this one-sided style of democracy is mimicked elsewhere or goes unchecked in the Golden State. And there are big, important issues that need the attention of lawmakers. Implementing costly and job-destroying legislation like AB 257 is not the answer. Of course, he only has his best interests at heart, does not give a crap about his workers. And evidence of that that absolutely undermines what he's trying to say, we can just look at McDonald's workers in Europe. So Matt Brudig wrote about this for Jacobin, and he says that McDonald's workers in Denmark receive $22 an hour. Weird that McDonald's hasn't completely self-imploded and collapsed from that like the CEO said it would. They get 6 weeks of vacation and sick pay. This compensation comes on top of the general slate of social benefits in Denmark, which include child allowances, healthcare, childcare, paid leave, retirement, and education through college, among other things. So, of course, Jessica, no surprise to us that someone who has a financial interest in oppressing his workers is going to make a statement like this, but I just think it's so egregious.
The Hamburglar is doing wage theft. I mean, seriously, how can you make $7.4 million in 1 year as one employee and be like the workers are lazy and greedy for asking for $22 an hour? Here's a deal, buddy. If you want to pay workers so little and give them so little benefits, how about you pay corporate profit tax? And instead, we give people good public social services with those tax dollars. We give them healthcare so you don't have to provide it. We give them good schools, good transportation so they don't have to spend a bunch of money on a car. I mean, we could work things out that way, but they won't agree to that either because at the end of the day, they are the greedy and lazy ones. If their workers don't show up for their shift, they make $0. If a CEO doesn't show up to the office that day to push their paper, no one notices. I guarantee you not one person will say, you know what, the McDonald's CEO was out today. You will make $0 if the people who work cooking the food in a McDonald's and running the McDonald's don't show up. Like, who is the real lazy one? It turns out it's the people making the most money, but they want you to believe the workers who are asking for more are lazy. Ridiculous.
Yeah. Absolutely ridiculous. And I just want to highlight before we move on that those workers in Denmark aren't making $22 an hour because of, a state mandated minimum wage. They're making $22 an hour because of strong union representation that negotiated those terms for their work with McDonald's. So, of course, we don't have a strong union protection in the United States, but unions are a big help in for workers' rights. Okay, let's get back to this moron, Joe. So what Joe's solution is, of course, it's not raising the wages of his workers, making their conditions better. No, his solution is robots. So let's pull up this headline from The Guardian. Touchscreens, conveyor belts. McDonald's opens first largely automated location. Test restaurants near Fort Worth, Texas, has drawn ire of activists calling for a living wage. But McDonald's Joe and his company aren't alone in their war on livable wages. Of course, he's not the only greedy head of a corporate fast food chain. CNN reported that Chipotle, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, In-N-Out Burger, and KFC owner Yum Brands each donated $1 million to save local restaurants, a coalition opposing the law. Other top fast food companies, business groups, franchise owners, and many small restaurants have criticized the legislation and spent millions of dollars opposing it. So they're against the workers being able to, feed themselves after they feed, so many other people in their jobs. Let's just take a look at these corporations' third quarter earnings from just one from these fast food chains. So Chipotle, 2.2 billion. McDonald's, 3.44 billion. Starbucks, 8.4 billion. In-N-Out, 575 million. But God, we just can't afford to pay our workers a living wage. God forbid our workers be able to afford rent in the places where they're working. But what this comes down to, and I'm sure you've already gotten there, is corporate greed. McDonald's and these other fast food chains are just displaying the most disgusting example of corporate greed. And they're doing it very vocally, very publicly, very egregiously, and they're desperately holding on to their profits while putting the people who make those profits for them on the chopping block. Jessica, I'll let you get the last word in here on this.
Last word on this is the Hamburglers doing wage theft. That's all I have to say about that.